to ensure its success.
Liquidity outflows and market volatility showed that it was no longer possible to restore the necessary confidence and that a swift and stabilizing solution was absolutely necessary. And this solution is the takeover of Credit Suisse by UBS. It is supported by the Federal Council following several meetings with the Swiss National Bank, with our regulator, the FINMA, with Credit Suisse and UBS. And the Federal Council welcomes this takeover and is supporting it by guaranteeing the framework conditions necessary for its success. The Federal Council is therefore confident that in this difficult situation, the takeover of Credit Suisse by UBS is the best solution for restoring the confidence that has been lacking in financial markets recently, and for best managing the risk to our country and its citizens. Thank you very much.
Both in Switzerland as well as internationally.
Important bank would have caused irreparable economic turmoil in Switzerland and throughout the world. For this reason, Switzerland had to take the responsibilities beyond its own borders. These efforts have paid off. The Federal Council is convinced that UBS takeover of Credit Suisse has laid the foundations for greater stability both in Switzerland and internationally. Ich danke Ihnen.
Merci, Madame la Conseillère fédérale. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Madam.
You have the floor.
Dear Vice-Chancellor, dear President of the Swiss Confederation Alain Berset, dear Federal Councillor Keller Suter, Chairman Thomas Jordan, Chair Amstadt, dear Axel, ladies and gentlemen. I am pleased to be here today as we announce this integration, one that reinforces Switzerland as a leading global financial centre. Bringing UBS and Credit Suisse together will build on the best skills available in the Swiss Financial Centre and enhance the combined organisation's ability to serve our clients and deepen our best-in-class capabilities. In realising the enormous opportunities this deal represents, we are also aware of the need to support the broader Swiss economy and our clients at a time when macroeconomic uncertainty makes business conditions challenging and unpredictable. I am grateful for the strong support of the Swiss Federal Council, the Federal Department of Finance, FINMA and the Swiss National Bank, who initiated the discussions. We have agreed a framework of support with the Swiss regulators which ensures a successful integration in the best interests of Switzerland and protects our shareholders. I would like to thank the authorities for their close collaboration during this process and will continue to work with them as the integration process progresses. The combination of the two banks further strengthens UBS's position as a leading global wealth manager with more than $5 trillion in total invested assets operating in the most attractive growth markets. It will also reinforce UBS's position as the leading universal bank in Switzerland and further extend our position as the most important Swiss global bank. Having been Chief Financial Officer during the last global financial crisis, I'm well aware of the importance of a solid balance sheet, especially in challenging times like these, and UBS will remain rock solid. This transaction confirms and augments our strategy of growing our capital-light businesses. Let me be very specific on this. UBS intends to downsize Credit Suisse's investment banking business and align it with our conservative risk culture. It is intended that the combined investment banking businesses will over time account for no more than 25% of the group's risk-weighted assets. UBS's strength and our familiarity with Credit Suisse's business puts us in a unique position to execute this integration efficiently and effectively with Swiss and international clients' best interest in mind. Ralph Hammers will be the Group CEO of the combined entity, and I will continue in my role as chairman. This transaction supports financial stability in Switzerland and creates significant sustainable value for UBS shareholders. Combining the best of Credit Suisse with our strategy and culture will help these businesses flourish. We will provide updates as the integration progresses. In the meantime, we will focus on serving our clients at both institutions. I am pleased that this transaction will bring the long-desired stability for the Credit Suisse client base. We're well aware that in the coming weeks and months will be difficult for many, especially for the employees. Let me reassure you that we will do our utmost to keep this time of uncertainty as short as possible. Let me close by thanking all parties involved for the incredibly hard work and excellent collaboration over the past days. At the same time, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all our new clients and colleagues across the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Monsieur le Président du Conseil d'administration de Credit Suisse.
Between two private players, which offers the guarantees necessary to re-establish this confidence and ensure stability.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous pouvons passer à vos questions qui souhaitent, Monsieur.
Thank you very much. So now we come to the questions and
Es wurde gesagt,
Session.
der Bundesrat habe schon am Donnerstag Beschlüsse gefällt.
It was said that the Federal Council made decisions as early as Thursday in order to re-establish confidence. It was important, but it wasn't communicated. Why do you tell us this as late as today, and how was this to help confidence if it wasn't made public? Well, on Wednesday evening, it became clear that the Credit Suisse asked the Swiss National Bank for this liquidity bailout, and then we extended this bailout on Thursday and also decided on this backstop. We were convinced that it was important up until the weekend to make this liquidity available to get through without any interruption, to then on Sunday at the latest be able to present a package. Now, if we had come on Thursday to say, oh, the Federal Council needs agreement of 50 million liquidity, and then we need an additional liquidity vis-à-vis the National Bank to the tune of 100 billion, then this would have undermined confidence and would have sown the seeds of insecurity in the national markets. And we discussed this together with the financial department, and this would have increased this insecurity. It would have been piecemeal, every day something else, 50 million, then 100 million. This would not have calmed down the situation. Now, had it been the case that the backstop had to be adjusted, i.e. the 100 billion of the National Bank had been used up already, then we would have to communicate very clear, because then it would have created security. But otherwise, we were of the view that this would have been counterproductive.
Mr. Foisy,
Did I understand you correctly that the shareholders, the holders of bonds and the lenders, all of those, that they got away with it, that we saved the Saudis and their boss who on Friday night backstabbed the CS eventually and put the knife in?
Also dazu möchte ich festhalten, dass wir ja den AT1
I would like to say that AT1 is part of the too big to fail regulation, which provides that the bonds,
nicht von Kleininvestoren, sondern von
and we're not talking about small investors, we're talking about institutional and larger investors that are held by those that they would change and be converted into equity, and this was part of the too big to fail regulation, and this was triggered here, and therefore the investors also have a share, as you mentioned. Well, insolvency is a painful solution for those who hold those shares, but it is a legally correct solution.
Ja, Sie müssen weiter drücken. You have to push while you speak.
Okay. John O'Donnell from Reuters. One of the big lessons from the financial crisis was that there would be no more public bailouts of banks, and also that banks that were too big to fail wouldn't be created. And yet the decision today creates a bank which is even bigger than any bank which has ever existed before in Switzerland. And also the vast majority of the cost of this bailout is borne by the state and the Swiss taxpayer. Could you comment maybe on that, and also perhaps about the division of cost between private investors and the Swiss taxpayer?
Well, I don't know if the question goes to me. I mean, I have to state that very clearly. This is no bailout. This is a commercial solution because we have a takeover of UBS. Well, UBS is taking over Credit Suisse. So this is a commercial solution and not a bailout. We really wanted to avoid a bailout for different reasons. But I just maybe come back to the question of the too big to fail framework. I mean, the too big to fail framework couldn't have been applied here really, because usually, you know, this is applied to a bank that cannot meet its liabilities anymore. And here we had a problem of liquidity. So it is not typical at all, you know. And as I stated in my introduction, also the bankruptcy, you know, the bankruptcy of Credit Suisse would have had a collateral damage, a huge collateral damage on the Swiss financial market, also risk of contagion for UBS and other banks, and also internationally. So I was in contact with my colleagues from UK and USA. They are very grateful for this solution because they really feared that there could be a bankruptcy of Credit Suisse with all the losses. And, you know, the taxpayer in this scenario has less risk. I mean, the bankruptcy would have been the highest risk because the cost of the economy would have been huge, the Swiss economy. Then I would say that any other scenario that could have been imagined in the too big to fail scenario would also have had more costs than if you have a private partner, a bank, a solid bank that says we take over Credit Suisse. What we do is something that is, you know, the governor of the central bank pointed it out, is a instrument that is well known in other jurisdictions like the UK or the US, which is the PLB, which is a guarantee to the central bank. It's not money we give to Credit Suisse or UBS. So we find that this solution is the best solution, and I hope it will also be welcomed by other jurisdictions.
Können Sie sagen, ob morgen der Handel mit der
Could you say whether dealing with the CS shares will be suspended tomorrow? And secondly, was it subject of the debate within the Federal Council to which degree the management of Credit Suisse is responsible, in part at least, for the loss of trust and confidence?
Wissen wir, ob es ausgesetzt wird?
Do we know whether trading will be suspended, was the question.
Das Management der Credit Suisse bleibt im Platz.
Management of Credit Suisse is
kurze Zeit
going to remain in place. There will be a short transitional period for the weeks up to the closing. Afterwards, Credit Suisse will be a subsidiary of the UBS Group AG, and UBS Group AG is going to then appoint management and the board.
Second question as far as the General Council is concerned.
Und nein, wir haben nicht so viel Zeit genommen, um einfach wie sagen wir das, die Rechnung tragen über die Vergangenheit. Aber es wird nicht gemacht. Wir
didn't spend too much time dwelling on the past. The work was very complex in order to have a solution in the short term for liquidity up to now and also for the next few days.
Oui, Madame.
Yes, madam.
Something I haven't quite understood, those 50 billion plus an additional 100 billion, or is it 100 billion in total with regard to liquidity and the backstop?
Die Herr Lehmann vorher erwähnt hat und die Credit Suisse bekannt gegeben hat, ist mittels traditionellem, normaler ELA, das heißt,
we have normal traditional ELA, i.e. emergency liquidity based on collateral. Over and above that, for Credit Suisse, we had a total sum of 50 plus 100, i.e. 150 billion as additional liquidity that we can draw on. 200 in total, yeah, if you add to this normal ELA, then 200 in total.
Mr. Burkhardt.
Da könne man keine Beschränkungen machen. Wir haben jetzt 200 Milliarden Garantie der Nationalbank.
200 billion, guarantee 9 billion by the federal government, and then unlimited bonus payments to the management of the bank. Is that not a little bit difficult to explain to the taxpayer?
Es handelt sich nicht eine Bankrettung.
It's not about a bailout. These are instruments that are available internationally anyway. ELA,
also diese Liquiditätsunterstützung,
the liquidity support is something that any large bank can apply for at any time. In Switzerland, it's perhaps not quite as common, but Mr. Jordan can talk about this. It does happen abroad that a kind of bridging support is needed. This liquidity was increased also compared to other countries. The National Bank is quite restrictive in case of bottlenecks with regard to liquidity, or in UK or the United States, as it was intimated earlier, whatever it takes, the liquidity is just injected in order to stabilize the problem. What we give here is a guarantee vis-à-vis the National Bank and not vis-à-vis a bank, and therefore this is totally unrelated to this question. It would be different if the government had to bail out Credit Suisse. Then the regulation about pay and the dividends would have been applicable, but this is a guarantee vis-à-vis the National Bank. Article 10A of the banking law, a systemically relevant bank, if this gets a support by the government, then the Federal Council also requires additional measures for pay, because this is indirect national support, well, liquidity support that a central bank makes available to a bank is not considered It's about liquidity support to cover bottlenecks with regard to market development. This cannot be compared with a recapitalization or buying back certain assets. It's liquidity support against the collateral, or in this case, against an insolvency privilege. This is not something that would normally be classified a bailout.
One last question.
Welche Folgen hat diese Fusion für die Arbeitsplätze in der Schweiz?
What repercussions does this merger have for jobs in Switzerland? How many jobs will be lost?
It's far too early for us to say on that at the moment. We're only just beginning the process of consolidation, assessing the impact, but obviously we also see opportunities for people in this new combination. So we will update you when we have news.
Madame.
Merci. How come CS shareholders get something but bondholders of AT1 were wiped out?
Well, we needed, so the AT1 the whole package has the intention to stabilize the financial system and to assure the stability of the financial system. And for this transition phase, we needed the capital, and the foreseen instrument in such a situation as in the too big to fail instrument is the AT1. And so this is why we've chosen kind of to stick into this, to still stick to this too big to fail framework and to trigger only the AT1.